by reviewing what we learned in the last class. The last class introduced the solar system, and we did definitions of some terms. We defined solar energy, and we said that it comes in two forms, that is light and heat. And we say that this solar energy reaches the solar panels by radiation from the sun, and it's capable of producing heat and causing chemical reactions and generating electricity. That was the solar energy. We defined the PV system. We defined what are the photovoltaics and so many other definitions. I've shared these notes, and those who are not there, you can review them later on. And those who we did this course with them last semester, I also gave the same notes. We also talked about methods of solar energy harvesting. So those guys who are taking notes, we have some methods of harvesting the solar energy. And first method we talked about is by use of PV modules. Use of PV modules. That is the first method, the use of PV modules. PV modules means photovoltaic modules. This is the general way of using solar panels, and we say that they used to harvest the solar energy by this is a normal way that you just have a solar panel and then you place it somewhere that can receive maximum radiation of the sunlight. And they say when this sunlight is absorbed in a semiconductor, the optical energy of the light is transferred to the electrons inside the material. We also talked about use of solar thermal as number 2, the second method of harvesting solar energy, use of solar thermal. And we say this one is also called concentrating solar power, or CSP, concentrating solar power, or CSP. I'm highlighting those short notes there. So use of solar thermal. This is concentrating solar power as the second method. We also talked about the use of the biofuels. Biofuels is also called the natural photosynthesis. The natural photosynthesis of biofuels. Then we also talked about another method of harvesting solar energy, that is the artificial photosynthesis, and quite a number of them. We also talked about the application. Now, after you have harvested this solar energy, where do you apply it? One of the method is one of the method of applying the application of solar energy. We said is the solar electricity. Everybody knows this, using solar energy to produce electricity. We also talked about the solar water heating. It's a method of applying solar energy. We talked about solar heating. Don't confuse the two, solar water heating and solar heating. Solar heating applies in places where you experience winter seasons, so you use that solar energy to heat your houses. We also talked about solar ventilation. Solar ventilation solutions is such as the use of solar Arctic fans that reduce the burden of the HVAC, and this helps to cool your home during summer. This is like the opposite of solar heating, that is using solar energy to power your AC, the air conditioners. So that is called solar ventilation. We also talked about another application of solar energy as the use of solar lighting. We use solar energy to light up our houses and our homes, and also it's also used in the road signs and street lights. It is common everywhere. Everybody has seen that. Let's talk about another application. Application number 6: the use of portable solar. The portable solar PV chargers that help keep our personal electric devices charged. We also have some cars that use these solars, but that one comes as the next application in solar transportation. Solar transportation, this is whereby solar-powered vehicles are used. They use, instead of using the normal fuel, they use solar energy to power themselves. So today I want us to talk about the PV system, the general description of a PV. What does it entail, the PV system? As we all know, PV system, maybe we can start by defining what is a PV system. And we say a PV system, let me see if I can get it here for you. A PV system, that is a PV system or a photovoltaic system or a solar power system is a power system that is designed to supply usable solar power by means of photovoltaics. Is designed to supply usable solar power by means of photovoltaics. That is the general description of a PV system or a solar power system. So in case of an exam, you're told to define what is a PV system, you use your own words to say this. You describe it just like I've stated here, that a PV system is a power system designed to supply usable solar power by means of photovoltaics. Let us go and talk about the main components of a PV system. Main components of a PV system. PV system is composed of several components, and they include the major components of a PV system include: one, the PV modules. Two, the charge controller. They're also called charge regulators. Charge controllers or charge regulators as another major component of PV systems. So I've said one, PV modules, charge controllers. Three, we have the DC AC inverter, or you can just call it generally an inverter. An inverter is another component of the PV system. Then I'm hoping you're taking notes. Then another component of a PV system is the transformer. A transformer, this is especially used when you have your solar system, the output of this solar system being upscaled and then powered to the national grid. So you need a transformer, and then you have the national grid, and another component is the battery. The battery. Batteries are used to store charge. That charge that you collect from the solar panels or the PV panels, now they are stored by the help of these batteries. So straight away we just go and talk about these key components of the solar system, the PV system. So we start with the charge controller. What are charge controllers? We've said they're also called charge regulators. They are used to manage the flow of electricity between the solar modules. They are used to manage charge regulators or charge controllers. They are used to manage the flow of electricity between the solar modules. They're also called solar arrays. They're used to manage the flow of electricity between the solar modules or arrays, and between solar modules or the arrays, energy storage and loads. Energy storage and loads. So that is the general work of a charge controller or a charge regulator, to manage the flow of electricity between the solar modules or the energy storage and the loads. We can look at, maybe I give you an image of one of how uh, the general image of a solar controller looks. So here it is. Let me share that screen with you. Screen for you. So this is the charge controller. This one right here. So this is how it looks. Those guys we were together last semester. We managed to do a bit of practicals with these charge controllers. So that is the general. That is how generally a solar charge controller looks. I believe you have seen it. Now, I don't know if somebody has a question. So far, as we continue, you can just, if you have a question, you can just publish it using public chat to be able to see your question. So that is the charge controller, and you have said it is used to manage the flow of electricity between the PV modules, that is the solar panel, the energy storage, that is the batteries, and the loads. They are included in most PV systems to protect the batteries from overcharge and excessive discharge. That is the work of the charge controller, to protect the battery from overcharge and excessive discharge. The battery from overcharge or excessive discharge. Overcharging can boil the electrolyte from the battery and cause the failure of a battery. What we mean by overcharging is when you have excessive charges being directed towards the battery beyond the capacity that it's able to hold. So you're saying this overcharging can cause the electrolyte to boil and from the battery and also cause the failure of the same battery. Allowing this battery to discharge too much also causes premature battery failure and possible damage to the load. This controller is a critical component of a PV system, and it's able to control the system depending on the battery state of charge. We normally call that the SOC, battery's state of charge. The SOC. So that is the general description of a charge controller. We can talk about the types of controllers. Types of controllers. So there they are, the types of controllers. We have the shunt controller here. This one directs or shunts the charging system away from the battery. Shunt controller. It usually redirects or shunts the charging current away from the battery. These controllers, they usually require large heat sink to dissipate the excess current. They usually require a large heat sink to dissipate the excess current. I am taking you quite slowly because I believe you are, as we continue, you are making some short notes that you use during revision. We also have another type of a controller called series controller. Series controller. This one usually interrupts the charging current by open circuiting. You know what is to open circuit? It's the opposite of short circuiting. So it usually interrupts the charging current by open circuiting the PV array. This switching controller is therefore limited by the current handling capability of the components used to switch the DC current. So those are the two major types of controllers, the shunt and series. Shunt is also called parallel. So instead of shunt, you can say parallel. So shunt and series. So other than those two major categories, we have other categories of these controllers, like the single stage controller. This one disconnects the array when the battery voltage reaches the high voltage level. Single stage controller disconnects the array when the battery voltage reaches the high voltage level. And then the opposite of that is the multi-stage controllers. So this one basically does almost the opposite of what a single stage controller does. It allows different charging currents, as the battery nears full state of charge. Allow different charging currents. Allow, just like the name suggests, multi-stage controller, it allows different charging currents as the battery nears full state of charge. This technique usually provides a more efficient method of charging the battery. It is more efficient as compared to the single stage controllers. You said this single stage is when the battery reaches the high voltage level. But for the multi-stage, it allows different charging currents as the battery nears full state of charge. Full state of charge, you say it's also called the SOC. And you're saying one of the advantages of multi-stage controller is that it is efficient. It is a more efficient method of charging the battery. So that is that about the controllers. Next, we can talk about the inverters. The inverters. At some point, we have met an inverter. Inverter. It is. So, what is the work of an inverter? An inverter generally, we can define an inverter and say it's a device that is used to convert DC power. A device used to convert DC power. You receive this solar energy in form of DC, direct current. So you use inverter to convert DC power coming from the solar modules. A device that converts DC power coming from the solar modules to AC power necessary for the grid and other critical components of any PV system. Used to convert DC power. DC power is the form of energy, the form of current that is received from the solar panels to AC power necessary for grid and other critical components of the PV system. There it is, the description of an inverter. So that is the general description of an inverter. These inverters, they convert DC power from the batteries or solar modules into 60 or 50 hertz AC power. That is the frequency of the AC power that is converted. 50 to 60 hertz. A range of frequency. Convert DC power to AC power of around between 50 to 60 hertz. As with all power system components, the use of inverters result in energy losses due to interferences. As we all know, every electrical component comes with its own losses, the mechanical losses and so on. So also inverter, when you apply inverter in your PV system, they bring about energy losses, and this is due to the interferences. Typical efficiency of an inverter that is well matched to the array is around 90%. That is the efficiency of an inverter. Typical efficiency of an inverter is 90%. That is a very, very high efficiency. And there are key components in both the grid connected and distributed power applications and they're usually a significant part of the system cost. These inverters, they usually result. Now you see you're converting DC to AC. When you do that, AC power usually has some waves, and this AC current produced by the inverters can have either square or modified sine or pure sine wave output as the major types of waves. We are saying they produce waves. We all know what is a wave. So I say these waves can be in three categories. One is the square. Two is the modified sine, and three is the modified sine, and three is the pure sine wave. Pure sine wave. So I'm trying to get you the images of these three. So there they are. The three major types of waves. So this is the square wave. Then we have the modified square wave, and then we have a pure sine wave. A pure sine wave is a common type of wave. Most of us have experienced this also when doing electrical principles. So those are the three major types of waves that are resulted as the inverter converts DC to AC. These inverters are rated by the total power capacity, and we know power is rated in watts. So inverters, they are rated in watts. I say they are rated by the total power capacity, and the units for power is watts. Power, which is given in watts. That is the SI unit of power. Capital W. Then we can talk about another component of the solar system, and that is the transformers. Transformer. We all know what is the work of a transformer. A transformer is used to either step up or step down. So you said it is to step up or down. That is the application of a transformer. So once you have this energy converted from DC to AC, then it can be stepped up or down before it is connected to the grid, the national grid system. These transformers, they are used to step up, that is to boost, or to step down, that is also called to buck, B-U-C-K, to buck, to step down the voltage of this current. Therefore, the voltage of the solar array can be chosen independently of the voltage of the load. The voltage of the solar array can be chosen independently of the voltage of the load. This kind of convenience comes with a cost. They usually come with a cost. So that is the general description of a transformer. This one you'll cover them in detail later on, I believe in electrical principles. Then we can go to another major component of PV system, that is the batteries. The batteries. We all know what is the work of a battery. A battery is used to store this charge. To store charge. A battery, they used to store charge. They're used in many types of PV system. to supply power at low sun conditions. Those low sun conditions are also called low sun irradiance or night irradiance. That is when the input of the solar panels is not at maximum. At night you don't have sunlight, therefore the irradiance is so low. So these batteries, they supply power because they had stored power and they were being charged during the day, and then during the night or when you have low irradiance, then they supply power to the components of the PV system. Batteries are required in solar systems because of the fluctuating nature of the PV output. The PV output is not steady. It's not like the normal AC that is generated, the normal electricity that is generated. So the output of the solar system normally fluctuates depending with the irradiance of the sun, depending with the amount and quantity of sun being received by the PV panels. So these batteries, they ensure that there is a steady supply to the PV components when there is that fluctuation in the nature of the PV output. The battery capacity is selected according to the load. That is important to note. It is selected according to the load. So you sit down and you weigh what type of load you want to connect your solar system to, and then you decide the capacity or the size of the battery that you're going to use. That is how you decide. This one we covered it at the last topic when we will be doing the solar system, the PV system sizing. So depending on the load that you have, then you will be able to decide the capacity or the size of the battery. These batteries are usually connected in parallel. They're connected in parallel to much higher capacity. You connect batteries in parallel so that you ensure the capacity of the output is very high. There are several types of batteries that are available for solar application. I can name some the types of batteries. The first one is the lead acid types of batteries. So we have the acid, lead acid. We also have the nickel cadmium, and also the nickel hydride and lithium. I can see people having challenge by logging in. Maybe you can try and sort them out. But there was that requirement to tell them for them to log in, they have to have checked in the unit outline. Tell them to ensure that they check in the unit outline and they mark it as complete so that they're able to log in. As I sort that out in a bit. Stephen Mwendo, you can tell them now to try and log in. I think it is I've adjusted that, but this is because they came late. I can see one of the latecomers is Norman Moy. I remember you guys will be doing your exams online, and how late you come also determines how many marks you get. So try to avoid lateness. If the class is set at 8, ensure by 8 you have logged in. So let us continue as the others log in. So we are talking about the types of batteries. We have said we have the lead acid, the nickel cadmium, nickel hydride, and the lithium type of battery. Those are the major types of batteries that are used in solar energy. The main requirement for the batteries that are used as energy storage for the solar systems is that they must be able to go through deep charging and discharging cycles. That is the main requirement. So when you're going out there to check the type of battery, to select a battery that will use for solar energy. So that is the, the major criteria that you use to pick out a battery to use. So that is the main requirement, that they must be able to go through deep charging and discharging cycles without too much degradation. You know, the more you charge and discharge a battery, the more it loses its efficiency. So for these solar batteries, they must be able to withstand deep charging and discharging cycles. So we are trying to avoid this deep charging and discharging, but the cycles must be there. We avoid deep charging and deep discharging by the use of charge controllers. We have talked about that later on. Batteries are usually classified by the nominal capacity. This nominal capacity is abbreviated as Qmax, which is the maximum number of nominal capacity, those taking notes. So batteries are classified by nominal capacity, that is Qmax, which is the maximum number of ampere hours that can be extracted from the battery under a certain condition. That is the nominal capacity. There it is. Nominal capacity. So when you're told to define what is nominal capacity, you just say this is the maximum number of ampere hours that can be extracted from the battery under standard conditions. See, students are still having issues logging in. I don't know why, if you can get me clearly. Why? Can you get me? Steven is typing something. Yeah, Steven is saying that apart from the lead acid, he has not seen the other types of batteries. Okay, I have seen that. We will talk about that. So for the students that are unable to access the unit, tell them to send me their details so that I'm able to enroll them to the course. Let them send me their details, their name and admission number, so that I'm able to send them in. They can use my email address. So anybody, if you know somebody having challenges logging in, then they can send me their their details. I'll be able to assist them. I can see one of the latecomers is Gadoni. Gadoni, are you a CE student or a D?
A CE student.
So your friends are having challenges. How did you manage?
Yes, pardon?
Your colleagues are saying they are not able to access the class.
Yes.
So tell them to share their details so that I'm able to assist them.
Okay.
Yeah. So somebody was asking about these batteries, like the nickel cadmium. This for like let's talk about the nickel cadmium. But batteries, I think we'll cover them in detail later on in electrical principles, but we can just touch on them so that I'm able to answer. I think it was Steven. Okay, somebody is confirming they are able to log in. So for the nickel cadmium, maybe I can get you a picture of the same. But generally, this nickel cadmium, they are made by using the nickel nickel oxide hydroxide and also some metallic components such as the cadmium, so that when you combine the two, it's called nickel cadmium. Those are the electrodes. Yeah? Let me see if I can get you a picture. Maybe just describing them might not be as effective. Hmm. I have a picture here of a nickel cadmium battery. Let me share with you. So this those who have not seen a nickel cadmium battery, here it is. We have said it's made up of nickel hydroxide and cadmium as the major electrodes. So here it is. This, when you talk of nickel cadmium, that is the type of battery that we are talking about. Then the other type was, let me see, it was the lithium battery. Lithium is made of lithium by itself as the electrode. I'll also get you a diagram of the same. Lithium battery. I believe that the battery, for those who were doing, we were doing the practicals with them. The lithium battery, one of the batteries that was in the workshop was made of lithium. If I'm not very wrong. So here it is, a lithium battery. So this is the lithium batteries we are talking about. This right here. And others. So I believe we can continue. If there is no more question about the batteries, we can talk about another component of so we talked about the nominal capacity. We said it's calculated by, we defined as the maximum number of ampere hours. Remember, ampere is the SI unit of current, hour is time. So maximum number of ampere hours that can be extracted from the battery under standard condition. It's usually, I've seen that question being tested, bearing in mind you're the next student, so you might need to note that down. So the Qmax, nominal capacity, maximum number of ampere hours that can be extracted from the battery under standard condition. Then we have the efficiency of the battery that is defined as the ratio of the charge extracted during discharge. The efficiency of the battery. Let me copy this for you so that you can note it down. So the efficiency of a battery is the ratio, is defined extracted during the discharge to the amount of charge needed to store the state of charge. State of charge is SOC. So the efficiency of a battery defined as the ratio of the charge extracted during discharge to the amount of charge needed to restore the state of charge. And this depends, the SOC, that is the the efficiency of the battery depends with the SOC, the state of charge. And what is state of charge? It is the ratio between the present capacity of the battery and the nominal capacity. So let me also get this for you. The SOC and I want you to be a good student. Now I'm not able to see you, so don't just sit there and you fail to take notes. Then you during the exam you wonder where these terms come from. So the efficiency of batteries, we have said it depends with the state of charge, the SOC. And what is the SOC? This is the ratio between the present capacity of the battery and the nominal capacity. We said nominal capacity is the Q max, and the state of the present capacity of the battery is also abbreviated as Q. So SOC is given by Q over Q max. So SOC equals to Q all over Q max. That is the ratio between present capacity, that is Q, whereby Q is the present capacity, and Q max is equals to the nominal capacity. Hope you are together up to that point. There is that public chat. You can continue chatting. Those who have questions, you can just ask. Some of your friends will respond. If they don't, I will. That is how we get to learn. Remember, this is the new normal. We might not be able to come back to class anytime soon, so better adjust yourself to this. So these batteries, they're used in power generating solar systems and are actually different from the car batteries. Remember, they are not exactly the same, but most of the time you'll find people using the normal car batteries. And you know those car batteries, they are not designed for solar systems. They are not able to, we say for a battery to be used for PV system, it should be able to withstand high, deep charging and discharging cycles without degrading too much. So that's why we are saying there are specific types of batteries that are used, and we say they include the lead acid, the lithium, etc. And they are not exactly as the car battery. So the car batteries, they are not meant to withstand those high charging and discharging cycles. Then maybe you can talk about those are the major components. I believe we have talked about almost all of them. The other things we can talk about is the mounting structures. They are also part of the PV system. Remember, this system will be able, you need to mount it somewhere so where it will be able to receive the radiation from the sun. So the mounting structures, these are the fixtures that hold the solar panel together. Mounting structures, they hold the solar panel in place, and their appropriate design is essential to make sure that the panels get maximum sunlight. They ensure that the panel or the PV array, there are many, they get maximum radiation. Maximum sunlight. Remember, our source of this radiation, source of this energy is the sunlight. They have to be designed they have to be designed to be able to withstand a harsh weather environment. Remember, they will be placed outside, and we have two types of mounting structures: a triangular and a flush mount. There are two types of the mounting structures. One, triangular. Triangular is for the flat roofs, where the roof is flat. So you mount your solar panel in triangular shape with regard to the roof. And then we have the flush. Flush means parallel. Flush mount, this is for the inclined roof. The roof itself is already inclined, so you just place the solar panel flush to the roof. So those are the two major types of the mounting designs that we use. The mounting structures are long, they should be long lasting, and therefore they require little to no maintenance. They require little to almost no maintenance. As we come to the end of this topic, I'll share some detailed notes with regards to the same. I want us to talk about the PV system layout, how you lay down this PV system. So there it is, the layout of a PV system. So this is why you have all those components of a PV system put together. So we have the first in the layout is the PV array. These are the solar panel or solar panels. And if there are many, we call them a solar array or PV array. So we have the solar panel. Then we have, from the solar panel, we have the charge controller. We say this one regulates the amount of charge between the PV array and the loads and also the battery. That's why you can see the arrows here from the PV array to the charge controller, then to the battery. The battery is to and fro. Then we have from the battery to the inverter. The inverter, this one is said its work is to convert the DC. Remember the charge is stored here in DC form. So the inverter converts DC to AC. And then from the inverter, now you're able to have your AC loads such as if it's a large scale production of solar electricity, you can have the generators and so on. So still from the charge controller, you can have your DC load plugged directly. So this is the general description of how you lay out the PV system. PV array, charge controller to the battery, to the inverter, and then to the AC load, and also from the controller to the DC load. You want to miss this for sure. You want to miss a question on the PV system, especially this one of the PV system. Like you can be told to describe, to draw the PV system layout and also describe the components. So we start with the PV array. You see this one receives the solar energy. Controller, it regulates. The battery stores. Inverter converts DC to AC. The loads are the normal loads and also DC load is the normal DC loads. Remember, you can also have the where we have a complicated design such as this one, where you have from the PV array to the charge controller to the load to the battery, from the battery to the inverter to the AC load. So we can also have from the battery to the rectifier. This should be from the AC load to the engine, generator, wind turbine. This is for the grid backup, and then to the rectifier. Remember what is the work of a rectifier? A rectifier does the opposite of what an inverter does. An inverter converts DC to AC, a rectifier converts AC to AC. You have had a full bridge rectifier, that is where you use the 4 diodes. You also have the half-wave rectifier, that is to be half the diodes, that is 2 diodes. So up to that point, unless somebody has a question, you'll be able to respond to them. You might also need to hear some of you. You can also share your mic and your webcams and get to know my students. So you are unmuted. If somebody has a question before we wrap up the class. Frederick Shiakwila, are you there? I've also seen some latecomers such as Alex Nganga. Alex, we are finalizing the class. Very late. So if you don't ask the question, I will ask. So maybe we can ask this Alex Ngang now that he is late. What is the work of a rectifier, Alex? Yes, Alex. What is the work of a rectifier?
I've joined right now.
You have just done what?
I've joined the class right now.
I can hear there is some background. Yeah, Kondo. Kutoka
Yes?
malishoni. Okay, who can answer that? What is the work of a rectifier? Maybe we can have Frederick.
It converts AC to DC.
That is Gadonia.
Yes.
Yeah, that is very okay. That is good. Maybe I also ask another question. Wario Solar. What is the work of, of, uh, of a charge controller? What did we say, Mr. Sora? Yes, Wario? Mr. Sora does not know what is that, but I can't hear him. Who can answer that? Let's have Grace. Grace, I've not heard from you. What is the work of a charge controller? Wario is typing. Yes, who will help those guys? Yes, Sora has answered to prevent overcharging. I wanted to hear your voice, but it's okay. Yes, Alex, you have a question? So I've shared some notes about the classification of inverters. You can go through that as we wind up the class. So we are saying they are classified. You can check that in the shared notes. Classified into many types based on the output, the source, type of load, etc. So here is a complete classification of the inverter circuits. One, they can be classified according to the output characteristics. That one we talked about it, the square wave and the sine wave. Then according to the source of the inverter, that is when you classify them according to the source, you can have the current and the voltage source inverters, and then according to the type of load. When we talk about type of load, it can be single phase inverter or the three-phase inverter. I hope you have noted that down. They are classified one according to the output characteristic. Output characteristic, we have two: one square wave inverter and sine wave inverter. Then can also be classified according to source, according to source. We have the TV muted so that it does not make noise. So according to the source, So when you classify inverters according to the source, you can have two major types: current and voltage source inverters. Then it can also be classified according to the type of load. When we talk of type of load, we have one, the single phase inverter. Under single phase, you can have half bridge inverter and full bridge, you can decide. And then we have another type of load, that is the three-phase inverter. The three-phase, you can have 180-degree mode and also 120-degree mode. Then the other classification is according to the number of output level. When you classify inverters according to the number of output levels, you can have one regular two-level inverter and the multi-level inverter. So I want to believe up to that point we are good to go. Remember to, as you're staying at home, to revise. You never know when the exams will be called. So ensure you are prepared so that at any given time you're able to handle the next exams, so don't get reversed. So the only way to achieve that is by taking your work seriously, making notes, revising, and so on. I'll be sharing some notes and also some assignments so that I'm able to monitor your activities. Ensure you at least log in before class and you're able to attend the class in full so that you can be able to get at least almost everything that the teacher talks about so that you're not left behind. Like we have talked about the types of inverters. Those people who are not here in the next that I will share, they won't be having the types of inverters, and you might never see that again. The only time you see it is maybe in the exam. So up to that point, if there is no question, we can wrap the class. I can't see any question, so that means we are good to go. So until next Friday, stay safe, ensure social distance, and sanitize, and ensure you're safe out there. And we meet next Friday. Have a good day.